walked straight down the bathroom corridor and into the ladies' toilet.
What? Hello, hello, hello. Three true creepy movie theaters horror stories. This is what we're here for, so let's react. Part 1 only. We're going to react to part 2 in the next video. Stupid flies.
I was a little kid when this happened.
Mm,
I lived in a small town in England, and we didn't have a cinema for quite a while.
same as me.
So when one opened, it was a novelty, and my mom would take me a lot. It's different now, and it's been expanded, but back then there were 5 screens. 3 larger ones, and then 2 small ones down towards the end of the building and down a long corridor.
Mm.
And then a thinner corridor spanned off from that, leading to the 2 bathrooms, men's and women's. So I forget which film we were there to see, but this was before the film started.
Okay.
I needed to use the bathroom, but I had a drink and popcorn, and I didn't want to take them into the bathroom with me. Mom was chatting to a friend who worked at the cinema, so I was just hanging out at the start of the corridor leading to the bathrooms, waiting impatiently. Just to clarify, though, I was maybe 7 here, so hanging around outside the bathrooms didn't make me look like a weirdo.
I mean, I would actually agree with that as well, because like whenever you go to a restroom in public, right? I don't know, I'm saying restroom, don't live in America. You see people hanging outside and stuff like that, outside the doors or in the hallways and stuff like that, because it's like it could be a relative or family and stuff like that. So it's not quite disgusting, or I just completely missed the point. I think I completely missed the point, didn't I? Yeah. I should shut my mouth now.
I'm there waiting for Mom to show up, eating little bits of popcorn while I wait, when I see him. A huge tall guy in a long waxed raincoat. I'm not sure if they're popular in the States, but here when I was a kid, they were called yuppie coats in my area. Very dark green long raincoats made of thick canvas materials. I guess rich people originally wore them, but now they were just typical outdoor coats. So this guy was wearing that and had longish hair, and he looked maybe in his 50s or older, and
Ew.
now I'll just reiterate here. This was back in the 90s, so it was before the popularity of gender fluidity and non-binary identities and whatnot. If you were trans, then you dressed, often as a requirement for gender-affirming treatment.
Like, that is the worst thing to happen to human history, I swear. Like, it's either male, female, or understandably trans, because it can happen and things do happen, and, that can happen, to my knowledge. That's it. None of this other gender reimagination kind of shit. You understand what I'm saying? That kind of rubbish. I only knowledge 3 and that's it. So, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I'm
As the
just saying.
gender you wanted to be. Not my words, just trying to explain it. And the point is, this was a man. He was not making any attempts to appear as anything but a man.
Mm.
And he walked straight down the bathroom corridor and into the ladies' toilet.
What?
I knew something felt very wrong about this, so I kept watching the door, and thankfully Mom showed up seconds later. I told her what I'd seen, and she immediately went to get a cinema employee.
Oh, thank God that happened, because, bro, I would have just walked away and run away and be like, Mom, there's a creepy man in the ladies' restroom. Can you please do something? Call security, I'm scared. Bro, I would have done something like that, but thank God it said Mom was coming. He told the mother went to get security, and hopefully that's the end of it. Hopefully. But, bro, that is just... Ugh.
During this time, I did not move from my spot looking down the corridor.
Mm.
If this man had left the ladies' room, I would have seen him. So Mom gets back with the female cinema employee who goes into the bathroom, and she comes out a few minutes later looking at me strangely. There was no tall, hefty guy in a raincoat here. In fact, there was nobody in the bathroom at all.
What?
It was entirely empty. She asked me if maybe I'd been mistaken and he'd gone into the men's. I said I didn't think so. She knocked on the men's and then called in, and when there was no answer, opened the door, and the men's bathroom was empty too. She asked me if there was any chance that the man had left the bathroom in the meantime.
No way.
And I assured her that it was totally, utterly impossible.
Nah.
And I meant it. I don't know for sure what happened that day. What I do know is that I 100% definitely saw a large man go into the ladies' bathroom.
That's what I'm saying?
And then the bathroom was empty the next time someone went into it.
Nah.
I am certain that he didn't leave through the door, or...
There must have been a secret pathway or something that he went through, or like, I'm not saying these places have something, but it's either that or she went inside. I didn't actually knock on the door, to say, is anyone here and stuff like that. She might have just went in, assumed that no one was there. It was so quiet. And then she just walked out. There is no way you're trying to tell me that you're trying to convince the child. You're trying to convince the child that he's gone crazy. There is no way I would believe that, because he saw with his own eyes. Someone went into the lady's room and he didn't come out of that. And he wasn't even supposed to be there to begin with. You get someone to check the place out. And then all of a sudden she comes, so I'm like, are you sure a man went through the ladies' room and wasn't the men's room? I know what I saw, lady. I know what I saw. You have to be insane. You understand me? Now I feel like with my eyes like this, I'm obsessed. I'm possessed. Honestly, she did not check the restroom properly. I keep saying restroom. I don't live in America, but let's go.
Realized that he'd gone into the wrong bathroom and switched to the men's. I was watching intently because the whole thing obviously creeped me out. What I do know, though, is that a couple of years later, the part of the ceiling of the cinema collapsed while people were in one of the screens watching a movie. Thankfully, nobody was hurt. But it turned out there was a huge amount of space at the top of the building that spanned most of the area, and that it hadn't been constructed very well, apparently, since it eventually collapsed. I know I saw a large, creepy-looking guy go into that bathroom, and I know he then disappeared. My theory is that he somehow knew how to get into the crawl space through a ceiling vent, and then went off and did something. What and why, I don't know.
My mistake, I guess. He did have a secret plan to go up to the... I didn't think of that. You see, don't get angry with me. I didn't think of that. I just assumed the lady was stupid, okay? Looks like I'm the stupid one now. My apologies. I take back what I said. Not.
It's either that or my local cinema, which is still there to this day, albeit very much refurbished and higher quality, with a fixed ceiling, is haunted by the ghost of a large man who hangs around the bathrooms. And honestly, I don't know which theory I prefer.
Crazy story, man. Crazy story, man. But yeah.
His name was Sean, and I met him on Tinder.
Ooh.
I won't say it was love at first sight. It took a bit of cajoling from him to get me to agree to a date.
We know how these Tinder dates start, you know what I mean? I have no experience whatsoever in that kind of stuff. I have no experience in that kind of stuff, but we know how it usually starts. Keep scrolling because you find someone, and then it's like, blah, 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 blah. And then, like, you know how shit goes, whether this one's being difficult, that one's being difficult. Scroll, you find a new one. This one says, no, not interested. Scroll again. Honestly.
He wasn't really my type. Kind of looked like he loved himself, a tall and buff guy. I'm usually into slightly pudgier guys who, well, I'm sure you don't care about that.
Pudger, what's that?
But
Fat
trust me,
ones.
fellas, women who like normal guys are out there. And Sean won me over with a sense of humor, his smooth talking, and his absolute geekery. I'm a big Marvel fan, or, well, I was back then anyway. And I went to all the movies in the theater on opening weekend whenever possible.
Okay.
I was also really big into horror, especially the Conjuring universe. So Sean eventually won me over by inviting me to go with him to see The Nun. Hey, the movies are a pretty easy place for a first date. If it's going badly, you can just sort of shift away in your seat and ignore the other person for the duration of the film.
Okay.
He picked me up at a nearby Starbucks. Don't give random Tinder dates your address, people.
Yeah.
And we drove to the theater. And honestly, he was great. Really charming, fun, and generally a good time.
The usual.
Too. A nerd in a sort of cute way, which is basically just to say that he's a nerd. Now, the one problem was, he was fairly pessimistic about the prospects for The Nun. I'll give him this. He ended up being right. Man, that movie sucked. And let's not even mention the sequel, but this isn't about that.
Right.
Sean was certain that the first movie was going to suck, even though we were going on opening night, and he was promising me that he had something in mind that would make the experience way more memorable.
Memorable for being a creep. Let's just remember that. Important information, important factor. memorable for being a creep. Facts.
Quote unquote. Well, here we go, I was thinking. He's going to make sure that we get seats in the back row, and I'm going to be in for an evening of dodging make-out attempts and groping hands. Still, I wasn't too dissuaded by the former, at least. If only that's what Sean had planned, though. We grabbed our tickets and some popcorn and even a hot dog. Sean was against the idea of buying a drink, though. According to him, needing to leave the theater to use the bathroom ruined any movie.
Huh?
I mean, I guess I could buy that. I did miss a key scene in The Dark Knight thanks to a bathroom break, but it is a bit psychotic with salty popcorn. And sure enough, when he led us into the theater, he headed straight for the back row. We'd arrived very early for the showing, and it was one of those small-town theaters where you just kind of chose whatever seats were available. He led us down the aisle of the back row until we were basically in the middle looking down at the screen. It was a prime spot.
I'm surprised that he chose the middle instead of choosing the sides. We all know what experiences people hide on the sides.
In fairness, and I was fine with the seating arrangement. We sat there making small talk, laughing at the ads, and then watching the trailers quietly like good moviegoers should. Then the lights dimmed. Sean finished his hot dog, and he positioned the popcorn between us, and our hands brushed a couple of times as we shared the salted goodness. I even felt a bit of a spark there. The movie started off not too bad. I was kind of enjoying it, honestly. Thaisa Farmiga can win me over very easily. But Sean, however, was not enjoying it. He kept nudging me, making whispered comments about how crappy it was and how it could use some extra scares. I mostly just ignored him because, honestly, I was enjoying it and I wasn't going to...
It was one of those things where he knew that, you know, it was going to be not his thing, and he just used it as an excuse to do something which we're going to find out in a minute. We all know the plot, right? Yeah.
And otherwise. And then he told me to look down. At the same time, I felt something prodding into my side. Sean was sitting on my left, and...
Look down? Look down where? That's kind of disturbing, don't you think? You agree also?
Other than an elderly couple at the end of the row on the right, we had the whole line to ourselves. I looked down. Sean was holding the biggest hunting knife I had ever seen.
Fuck?
And the tip of it was very slightly pressed into my side. I remember his words like it was yesterday. Move, or call for help, or do anything, and the blade goes in.
Oh,
he said.
My God.
Just keep watching the movie. And so we did. And throughout, he kept making goofy remarks and joking comments as if he didn't have a huge knife held against me.
What the hell?
And I was absolutely trembling, terrified.
What do you even do in that situation? Like, do you just, like, speak? I know, obviously, he said not to speak, but that's just insane. Chances are you do anything against him and he's going to stab all of them in a fucking thing until security comes and, oh my God, like, oh.
And speechless with fear almost. At times I had to stifle back sobs as I replied to his inane jibes at the movie. At this point, I had no idea if he'd lose his mind in anger if I disagreed with him calling the movie garbage or something.
Of course he would.
I mean, it kind of was, and it got worse as it went on, but obviously I didn't really care at that point. And at that point, I was just begging for it to be over. Scenarios were running through my head. What would happen when the credits rolled? Would he expect us to just walk out like nothing had happened? Would I be getting a blade to the gut? I understood now why he'd forbidden us from getting a soda. Not only could it have required me to get up, but it would have improved the chances of me actually pissing myself in fear. I genuinely cannot express to you the terror of sitting there for 90 minutes with a blade gently pushing into the soft flesh of my stomach.
So sorry to hear that.
I wanted to do something. I knew if I called out for help, he'd be able to gut me before I could receive so much as a look of concern from fellow moviegoers.
Exactly.
And then, thank God, the movie was over. We sat there for a moment, and the credits were rolling. and the knife was still pressing into me. The theater lights went up, and that's when I saw it. It was a literal prop knife.
What?
Now, before you...
Oh my god. That wasn't even a real knife? That was a prop knife. The person's just about to say before you say anything. So let's just react before I say anything myself.
You think I'm some idiot. It was a professional level movie prop, I'll be honest.
I wasn't even thinking she was an idiot. I'm just thinking like, what the fuck? If only she had known. Oh my god. How are you supposed to tell whether it's real or not? Your life is on the line and you want to do something that you're supposed to do, but it's at risk of your own life. Hoping he doesn't do anything. Oh my god, man. Even like the feel of the knife on the, you know, on your knee, on your thighs, like, not knees, on your thighs, like, nothing could tell whether it was real or not? Jeez.
He must have paid top dollar for it, and I could only tell because in the light I could see the official Rob Zombie's Halloween movie branding on the handle. I guess it explained how he held it steady enough that it felt like it could penetrate me at any moment, but never did. And Sean was grinning at me like he'd just given me the world's best treat.
You fucking weirdo.
Didn't I make a terrible movie a hell of a lot scarier?
What?
He said. When he saw the absolute murderous rage on my face, I could tell he was genuinely surprised. This idiot, this moron idiot jackass.
Disgusting.
I genuinely believed that just because I was a horror fan, I'd be delighted and grateful at him causing me one of the worst hours of my entire life. I can't remember exactly what I said, but I know it was far too obscene to share on this channel, and I also know it resulted in me throwing the rest of the popcorn straight in his smug, idiot face.
Good.
And most of it was still untouched due to me fearing for my life. I stormed straight out of that movie theater.
Good.
Told the manager, who was a friend of mine, and obviously was advised to call the cops.
Yeah.
There was barely a charge in response, something to do with causing undue stress, but due to the stupid way the laws worked at the time, the low lighting didn't make the charge worse, and the fact that it was an obvious toy made it harder to push for anything more serious.
No, you cannot tell me
sure
that they didn't do anything about that. Nah, come on, man. Laws back in the day, I swear, even if it's taken seriously now, it doesn't even get the respect that it deserves for punishing people based off stuff like this. Bro, if it was a real knife, then it's like, oh, we got to change the law. We got to do this and that.
Press charges, but he ended up getting off with some slap on the wrist.
Nah, man.
Thankfully, a very sympathetic judge granted me a restraining order. Not that I think I had any danger of hearing from Sean again. And in his eyes, I was the crazy, hysterical woman who couldn't handle being an actual horror fan.
That makes no
All
sense.
because I wasn't cool with having to spend the duration of that movie thinking that I was going to get stabbed to death. And so, Sean, screw you. I hope the possessed doll of Annabelle eats you in your sleep.
Nah.
Imagine being able to build anything just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44.
That's absolutely insane, guys. But yeah, we're going to end it there because, you know, I don't want to like make this past 20 minutes. So I feel like any video over 20 minutes is not going to do well on this channel because I don't post consistently. So I'm just going to end it there. But yeah, thank you so much for tuning into the video. Drop a like, comment down below your thoughts on the whole video, just me overall, whether I was just yapping too much. And subscribe as well because I will be doing this consistently, even though it shows that I haven't been consistent. But trust me, I will be here. So I'll see you in the next video. It's been your boy, 609 Horror. Take care.